Some leaders are bigger than the brand. When they leave, it's over. Ozzy Osbourne, Jimmy Buffett, Elon Musk. Others build brands that are bigger than themselves. Iron Maiden replaced the drummer after 42 years and kept touring. McKinsey outlives every partner. Goldman Sachs replaces their CEOs and moves on. The difference determines whether your company survives you or whether your city continues after the mayor leaves. Whether you're building equity in yourself or building something bigger. This is part 2 of a series. Part 1 with the full band case studies is on the Music Cities podcast channel. But here is the economic development framework. Now, what are the business parallels to this? Because we're not doing this for bands. We're doing this about companies and cities. Every company faces the same question. Personal brand companies, Tesla and SpaceX, these are Elon Musk. The stock price moves on his behavior and his tweets. When he's in the news, those companies are in the news. The mission, the vision, the chaos, it's all him. Could the Tesla survive? Yeah, but would it be the same company? No. Apple was the same. I mean, Steve Jobs had such a dominant personal brand. People questioned whether it could survive his death. As I mentioned, that personal brand became so much more prominent in his second stint. But they had built enough team brand infrastructure to continue. And Tim Cook is not Steve, but the product design philosophy, the ecosystem, they invested in it and it survived. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, years old, still the face of the brand, the decision maker. What's going to happen when he's gone? They've tried to build succession, but everyone knows that the moat around Berkshire is Buffett. Now, there's other team brand companies. McKinsey, the big consulting firm. Do you know who runs it? I have no idea, and I'm in the consulting business. It doesn't matter who runs it. The brand is the institution. The partners, they come, they go. The advisors, they come, they go. The consultants, they come, they go, and the firm continues. They've got a team brand architecture. Someone like a Goldman Sachs is the same way. The brand is bigger than any individual banker, no matter who is the CEO, by design. So when you're a founder and you're building something, ask yourself, am I building an Ozzy or am I building an Iron Maiden? Or am I going to get messy and build a Kiss? Am I building a company that's me or that can survive and continue without me? Now, most people are never going to consciously make that choice. They're just going to build. And one day they're going to want to sell, step back, retire, and discover that you are the business. You have nothing to sell except yourself. Now, cities also face this, and it can be messier than you think. First, you've got a mayor problem. Some mayors become the brand. And this can happen in big cities and small cities. Their personality and their vision, their media presence especially. I worked for somebody that said, never put yourself in danger and stand between a politician, especially a mayor, and a reporter or a camera. Anyway, their media presence can become synonymous with the city. When they leave, a city can have an identity crisis. I worked 15 years in Miami Beach City Hall. Mayors come and go, city managers come and go, economic development directors come and go. Some of them understand that they're building something bigger than themselves. Some of them make it all about their personal brand. You see this a lot in economic development at the regional economic development organization level, those organizations that do economic development for regions or for counties. The leadership there often becomes the brand associated with that economic development corporation, the same way that mayors do with cities and counties or city managers. And that's where you see ones who make it about themselves. When they leave, everything they built starts kind of unwinding. The relationships were with them and not the city. The vision was theirs and not the institutions. The ones who consciously build a team brand, they create systems and relationships and momentum that survives their departure. They train their successor and all of their team. They build relationships between the organization and their team and their constituency and their network, not just with themselves. They document the strategies and they make sure that the city or the organization is not dependent on their personal presence. And there's an intentional choice here. Some leaders, they'll intentionally stay in the background. They built the institution's brand, not their own. They credit the team. They resist putting their name on anything. And that's a conscious choice. And it's more rare because having that personal brand becomes seductive, and even more so now that we have social media. The media attention and the credit and the legacy all starts feeling good, not just for elected officials, but for city managers and for economic development directors, other leaders in the public sector space. But the leader who builds a team brand leaves something behind. The leader who builds a personal brand takes it with them when they go. City managers, especially when you start building a personal brand that starts to outshine your city brand, the other thing I've seen happen is city manager brands start outshining the personal brands of the elected officials. And that's when things go downhill really quickly for a city manager. And when the organization is connected to that city manager's personal brand, then you start seeing the ramifications of that just kind of filter through, ripple through the rest of the organization. For a long time, Austin's brand was weird. Creative people lived there. The musicians, the artists, the tech misfits, the personal brands of thousands of individuals created the city's identity. But what happened? They got priced out. The personal brands left. And what's their brand worth now in Austin? I think they're trying to figure that out, and they didn't do a very good job, in my opinion, when they rebranded with the new logo not too long ago. They need to go watch the Eddie episode. Nashville's a different model. The infrastructure is the brand, the studios, the publishers, the honky. They can change names and they can change owners, but the industry machinery is there. The artists come and go, but that ecosystem remains. That's team brand architecture at the city level, whether it's intentional or not. I'm not sure that it's necessarily intentional by the city, but that's the way that the industry has driven that city's economy. Not without challenges, and not without criticism even today. Now, Detroit, what was their brand? Their brand, they were defined by the auto companies, Ford and GM and Chrysler, the others. When those team brands declined, the city's team brand declined with them. The city's personal brand, you could call it. The personal brands of the individual entrepreneurs in the city were not enough to carry the city independently. What should you build? Individual is the brand, the Ozzys, the David Lee Roths, the Elons. The risk is the organization becomes disposable. The benefit is the career survives any project and you have total creative control. Now in the team brand, the organization is the brand, the Iron, the McKinseys. The risk is you're replaceable. The benefit is the thing that you built continues without you. Then you have Symbiotic, where both brands reinforce each other. This is the rarest and most valuable. You have the messy middle, but then you have the Symbiotic, which aren't so messy. Things like the Rolling Stones with Mick and Keith, Steve Harris with Iron Maiden. The personal brand elevates the team brand and vice versa. So how do you figure out where you are? Give the exit test. If you left today, would it continue? If yes, you built the brand. If no, you are the brand. Do the tattoo test. Would anybody get your Iron Maiden fans have Eddie tattoos much more than they have tattoos of members of the band? I don't think anybody has McKinsey tattoos. Tribal identity creates just different types of loyalty. And then you have the equity trap. Are you building equity in yourself or equity in the organization? Every hour you spend making yourself more famous is an hour you didn't make the organization more valuable without you. Again, neither model is wrong, but you have to be conscious in how you choose. Most people end up with a personal brand by default because they just haven't thought about the alternatives. So here's what I've noticed in the last year going to shows. Molly Hatchet a couple of weeks ago, great crowd, big crowd. Slaughter and Great White last week, big crowd. Not as big, but a great, decent crowd. These are bands that have been at it for 35 or 40 years. They have the pull. Their audiences aren't kids. They're my age, late 40s, maybe in their 50s or early 60s. They're business owners. We're professionals. We're people with money. We're people who've been successful, and we're people who have the means to keep our music going, to buy the VIP tickets, to do the meet and greets, to travel wherever we want for shows. As metalheads, our music is tribal. It's not just something we listen to. It's who we are, and we have the resources to keep showing up. And that's what's accelerating the ability of these bands. That's what accelerating the ability of these brands to continue. This is a demographic reality nobody talks about. The 80s metal fan base is in peak earning years. The tribal loyalty never faded, and we've got the disposable income now to prove it. The bands that built strong brands, whether personal or team, they're still cashing the checks decades later. Very different than a lot of other genres. But in hard rock and heavy metal, that brand equity compounds over time when the tribe stays loyal. And then you'll see here and there that happen outside of our genre, something like a Jimmy Buffett, something like the Dead, something like the Stones. But Ozzy can't tour anymore. That chapter's closed. Everything he built has to evolve and figure out how to continue without the foundation it was built on. But the sovereign ego model served him for more than 50 years. Iron Maiden's still touring, still filling arenas. Nico retired, they kept going. They built something bigger. Molly Hatchet lost every original member, and they're still playing the crowds who sing along every word. The brand became the thing. Divisive, polarizing, sort of like Great White. There's not a wrong model, but you have to choose and choose intentionally. But most people don't consciously make that choice. Are you building Ozzy? Are you building an Ozzy or an Iron Maiden? The answer determines what happens when you're gone. So, until next time, let's do it. See ya.